Hi, my name is Sierra Carr, and I'm going to be talking about project-based learning today. Basically, project-based learning is a method of teaching that allows you to have your students gain knowledge and skills through actively working and being hands-on with investigating a challenge or a question that they may have about the subject that you are learning about. I'm going to dig briefly into the back history. It started back in ancient Roman, ancient Chinese time, where we have people like Confucius and Aristotle that basically taught that learning is achieved by doing. So that's basically the most simplest form of project-based learning that there was, that people learn by actually doing, not by just hearing. Then Socrates came around and kind of expanded that thought in telling people that doing actually could mean questioning, using inquiry, using critical thinking skills. So he kind of just expanded that more for instead of just doing, because people weren't sure what doing meant. Then next we came into who we think of as the father of project-based learning, and that's John Dewey. He was a constructivist, and he gave us the thought that learning is not a passive thing. Students should not be sitting and listening, and that is all. They should take an active interest and an active role in their education and their learning. And so this is what he really stressed, and this is kind of what took us into the project-based learning that we know of today, which that term was deemed that in about 1918 by William Kirkpatrick. That's when we actually got the term project-based learning. Now we jump a little more to Jean Piaget, who's another constructivist, but thought that you learn through the experiences that you have at each age. So he kind of took that educational standpoint of whatever your experiences are is how well you're going to learn. So that kind of goes back to the doing. If you're just sitting, you're not really going to learn much as if you're out there questioning and using inquiry and actually being hands-on. And then to piggyback that, we have Maria Montessori, who took it into the early childhood realm, where she took the learning by doing and created a full curriculum around it, where she thought young children needed to experience the world around them in order to actually learn. Now we're going to talk about what it actually is, and as you can see by the diagram, it's a lot of things. It is a lot of things, and this is basically everything we want our students to get out of using project-based learning. Now there are 8 key components according to the Buck Institute for Education, who kind of basically gave us the general steps that you need to take in order to have a successful project-based learning experience in your classroom. Now the first step is significant content, and with that, it starts with the teacher. They have to know the standards that they're using for their project, and they also have to know the objective and key competencies that they want their students to learn. Without this, there's no point in doing a project, because the students aren't going to be learning anything that you need to be teaching. The next step is the 21st century skills, and that's the critical thinking, collaboration, communication, innovation, creativity. These are all the things that we want our students to get to, those things that are higher up on that pyramid. Your next step will be your in-depth inquiry, and that's basically where you start the discussion with your students. You allow them to ask questions and get a grasp of what they need to learn, what they want to learn, and that's how you lead into your next step, which is the driving question or the challenge. You take what you talked about during that inquiry and create a question, create a challenge that the students are going to have to try to solve. That's where they're going to start taking the reins and figuring out how to solve it on their own with minimal help from the teacher, only used as a guide. The next is the need to know, and this is where the students are going to have their interest piqued. You're going to go through and try to get them excited and pumped up about the challenge, but they're also going to go ahead and figure out what they need to know, what they need to learn, why they need to learn it. And this is definitely a key part of the whole method, and that is the students that are leading what they want to learn. The next step is the voice and choice, and this is where the students basically work together and voice their opinion, voice what they want to see, choose how they want to go about solving this problem. And so once again, it's put into their hands. The next step is the critique and revision, or the feedback, and the students give the feedback to each other. They express what needs to change, what's working, what's not working. Again, it's in their hands, and then they go back and make the changes. And then the last step, of course, is the public presented product, in which you're making their thinking visible. Because if not, we have no way of gauging how much they learn, how they learn, did they learn what the standard that you wanted them to learn. So their project that they share publicly is their assessment instead of a test of any sort. Now, we like to talk about what makes project-based learning different from other things, and it's basically, it's a hands-on approach to learning, and the students are taking control of their learning and deciding how they want to solve a problem, deciding what direction they want their learning to go. Whereas other things, other methods are kind of cut and paste. They have to follow a certain way, a certain amount of steps. They have to do each little piece, and then the end result is usually a paper or a test. And they really have no way to express themselves creatively or do anything such as that project-based learning allows them to do. So this is project-based learning. This is why it's great, and this is how we got to where it's at now in public education. Thank you.